What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and we've been absolutely grinding. Some of you guys know we were live last night around like midnight, 1 a.m., but I'm out here giving you guys another video. I figured we have a lot that's kind of in flux right now for the draft. I don't want to talk about anything player specific, but something I haven't done in a while is basement breakdowns. Now, I still don't really love that series name, but essentially what it is if you sign up on patreon.com/Ron Stewart, one of the billion perks that you get is when I sit down and I have nothing to write about, I hit up the Discord, everybody that's on the Patreon, I say, hey, if you have a team that needs fixing up, send a team over. So we have 3 teams right now from the Patreon that I'm going to go through and pretty much just get in the mindset of, okay, the NFL draft is today, but let's prep these rosters for our rookie draft, right? Whether that's coming up literally right on like Saturday night or Sunday, next week, etc. We should all be sort of mapping out our teams and deciding what needs to happen between now, the rookie draft, and kind of what is our objectives and goals for the rookie draft. So with all that being said, stop messing around. If you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe. Let's go.
Got the juice, I got the juice. 10 Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home.
Now, this is going to be a little bit complicated up front, and I always try to make sure that I explain this with as much detail as possible. So, we have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. This is the Dynasty team broken down by position, ordered by Dynasty value, and I highlighted any player that I felt was like a soft sell, hard sell. You can see the key here, just based on where the team is at and kind of if I think these players are overvalued or undervalued. And then I also use Underdog's ADP. By the way, promo code RON gets you a deposit match up to $100. I've linked down below in the description. Might have one down below in the comment section, but if you're new to Underdog, you want to hop in there, get in on the fun. They have fantasy drafts this far out. BBM4 is actually coming out, I believe, Saturday night after the draft. So if you're new, use promo code RON on there. But it's a way of getting a snapshot of ADP, so you can kind of see how good your team is in 2023. So you can kind of see, am I a contender? Am I going to make the playoffs? What am I looking at? And then we have the rookie picks. And then we also have like league format here. This one's a 12-team non-Superflex PPR, but it's moving to Superflex next season. Kind of where the team's at and where it finished last year. Now, this is an interesting team from M. Yinny. And he said he's new to Dynasty. He took over an orphan that he made through a dispersion draft or expansion draft, whatever you want to call it. And this is really interesting because this was an orphan. He drafted these players, and then this team's also moving to Superflex in 2024. So the way that I see it, in a one quarterback, it's such a shallow league too, right? It's only a start 9, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex. Maybe you use the 201, the 205, the 209, 301, and you just add some running backs and flex options, and you kind of tough it out. And, with Lawrence, Etienne, Pacheco, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Ayuk, you're probably a fringe playoff team here. My advice, though, would be to start a tank. This is an orphan team. You don't need to compete right out the gate. What I would do, tank in 2023, and I think that you can probably finesse ever so slightly. If the league isn't Superflex yet, I would poke around anybody that has like 2 elite quarterbacks, anything among those lines. See if you can poke around and get any kind of discount on a, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, a Dak Prescott, any of those guys. See if you can get any kind of discount. If you can, that's a direction I would be going in. I would also be trying to tank for the 101 next year so you can get Caleb Williams and instantly have a massively valuable asset literally just next season. You can always just trade that away for an absolute haul or treasure chest of picks. So pretty much what I would do, tank for 2024. Goal is to get a first overall pick in 2024. I would build around Trevor Lawrence. Again, I would, see if you could get one quarterback adjacent prices, maybe even buy low on quarterbacks outside of that tier. Like maybe you can buy low on a Trey Lance and buy him for a one quarterback. Like, do you guys think that you could sell? Could you sell like the 205 or could you buy Trey Lance for a second in a one quarterback league? Now I'm sure most of these owners are aware, of course, it's going to be Superflex eventually, but teams that are trying to win in 2023, do they care as much about a non-elite secondary quarterback? So I would maybe poke around on guys like that. Poke around, I think as well, like with this 201 and with this 205, I love the idea if, again, this is a weird transition period, and I've never been in a league that transitioned from one quarterback to Superflex, so I don't know how they're going to value things. but I have to imagine a quarterback's going to slip if it's one quarterback in 2023. So I would see, I mean, at like 201, if like Levis or Richardson or Young or Stroud, if any of those guys are there, I would love that at 201 because, quarterbacks will be vastly more valuable to you as someone not competing in 2023. So that's something else I would be looking at as well. And past that, you see a lot of dark reds and light reds here. I would probably just gut the rest of the roster. You have just one 2024 first. If I'm truly rebuilding, I want like 3, 4, 5 2024 first. So I would be looking to see, when you're on the clock, if somebody wants to buy, or maybe not even when you're on the clock, but just, as the offseason goes along, I would try and see, if anybody wants to buy ETN or AJ Brown or Calvin Ridley, Alec Pierce. Really more so ETN and AJ Brown as guys who hold a ton of value up top that you can kind of just cash out on. And then like Calvin Ridley, less so Pierce and all of these other guys, Pacheco, Irv Smith. See what you can do. And just what I would do is I would take their value and push it out to 2024 and 2025. I don't mind trading for 2025 first either. Those are super cheap right now. But what you want to do, score the least amount of points as possible in 2023, push all of that value into future capital. Those will gain value. Players can get hurt. Players lose value. You're going to gain value with that 101 in 2024 if you can truly actually tank for it. And then you can retool, revamp, trade draft capital, make picks where you want them, and then compete and contend in 2024. Now, I also would say, like, guys that are a little bit like sexy, like Pacheco and Jacoby Myers, I'd be trying to get off of those guys, but I will say we are in the offseason right now, so I wouldn't trade them for pennies on the dollar. If nobody wants to take veterans off your hands, you can wait until the season when they start scoring points to sell these guys that aren't super coveted, like Jacoby Myers and Pacheco. But I do think there will be a market for ETN, AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley. I would just want to get points off of this team, especially these guys that are like top 12, ETN, Brown, Ridley as well. You just kind of want a wasteland on your roster. So I would say good luck. The team has a solid foundation in place. Trevor Lawrence is really nice to have in a league that's going from one quarterback to super flex. Pretty much what I would do is tank for 101 and maybe poke around and see if you can finesse your way to an upside swing at that second quarterback spot and pretty much gut the rest of the roster just to tank as hard as possible for this upcoming season. Now, the next team we're going to look at is from a long time. This guy's an OG, CCN, absolute OG. He tied for first. I'm assuming that the Bengals and Bills game made it so he tied for first last year, but this is a team that's already really good. He wanted me to look over this trade that he made during the offseason. We have it right here. And it's a lot. I would say about face value, I would say the trade's like about even. He trades DK Metcalf, Daniel Jones, J.K. Dobbins, and Freiermuth for Judy, Garrett Wilson, the 202 and 201 in a Dynasty Superflex PPR league. I think if I'm a Garrett Wilson owner, you'd have to talk me into it, but I guess Metcalf and Daniel Jones would be a decent return for him. And then, so if Garrett Wilson equals Metcalf and Daniel Jones, you essentially sold J.K. Dobbins and Freiermuth for Judy, 202 and 201. Give me that every single time. Dobbins and Freiermuth for Judy, the 201 and 202. You get pretty much like a wide receiver 2 in return in Judy, and you get 2 swings with draft capital to, just absolutely crush the trade if you can pick a player that gains a ton of value. Now, the issue with this team is it's already good. It's already a good team. It's already really, really strong. It tied for first last year. The starting lineup, we look here, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers is pretty nice. Aaron Rodgers gets a stack to Garrett Wilson. Swift and Samaje Perine aren't great at running back, but they're good enough, so it's like a 0 RB team. This is honestly a very classic like Ron Stewart team where your wide receivers are stacked. You have an elite quarterback. You're playing a little bit 0 RB there. Like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 9, wide receiver 16, wide receiver 22, and then also have Terry McLaurin off the bench. So that's really nice. You have a ton of depth at wide receiver. I wouldn't touch any of that. And you can also always, like if you feel like running back's a little bit shallow, when we look towards the rookie draft, you have so many seconds with like the 201, the 202. You can go best player available. You can also, 201, 202. That could be Charbonnet range if he slips. That could be Roshan Johnson, A-Chain, Tank Bigsby area. Same thing with the 211. That could be, your Tyjae Spears or Kendre Miller. So you have a lot of options to fill in the running back spot. You can also have a 2024 late second next year. You can always, you get into the season and you're like, man, my running backs aren't good enough, but I'm competing. You can always, take Swift, add a second and upgrade, or take Perine, add a second and a piece and upgrade. So you can pretty easily upgrade running back in season. I wouldn't do it this far out, though. Like, you don't have to construct the most perfect starting lineup of all time. So, again, this team's good. Like, you could probably just leave the team as is, but I did highlight some pieces that I'd be willing to move off of. The only sort of flaw with this team is that you don't have an elite tight end or an elite quarterback too. So I don't mind if you could. I think I'm probably being too optimistic here, but do you think you could do like Geno, the 201, the 202, and like a future second? And does that get you into like Lamar or Justin Fields? And if not, can like Geno in 2 seconds get you into Dak Prescott, if you want to upgrade QB2? I don't think you have to, by the way. But it's something you might want to explore. Same thing with Dolchich. Like, maybe you could add, or even like Hunter Henry, or even just trading. Or actually, now that I think about the tight end class is so good, like you could just take at like 211, you could just add to Dolchich. You could just add, a Musgrave, Darnell Washington, any of those type of guys. So I do think you can kind of address your running back and tight end needs through the draft. If you want to be aggressive, you can add to Geno Smith, upgrade QB2. But again, no pressure at all. You could not lift a finger with this team and be good to go. Now, our last team here is Trent WD. And this is an interesting team. This is a 12-teamer, PPR, Superflex, Best Ball, tight end premium, 1.5 tight end premium. And before we dive into his team, he sent me a trade that he made this offseason. He sends his Noah Fant and the 102 for Mark Andrews, Tyler Algier, and the 205. And I think value-wise, I probably take the side that he got. I probably take Andrew's side because I would have, you'd say you sold the 102 for either Andrews straight up or Andrews and Algier, and then I'm fine selling Noah Fant for my 205. The only issue I have is I don't think that this trade made sense for this team. 102 would have been nice because you have Kyler and Deshaun Watson, two guys who aren't really going to score points this year. I guess Deshaun Watson will score points this year, but he's a guy that is still just like a back-end QB1. Kyler, ACL injury, won't play till later in the season if he plays at all. 102 would have been nice to have an upside swing on an Anthony Richardson or, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. I think that you have the luxury to do that with this team. And then I don't think that this team is very strong in such a deep league too. Like, this is a 3 wide receiver, 3 flex league. You're flexing Michael Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Sky Moore. That's not great. Your running backs, Dobbins, Algier, aren't great. Like, the only strong spot is like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ridley, Mark Andrews, and Deshaun Watson. I don't think that that's enough to win in 2023. I think that this team probably limps into the playoffs. The interesting part is that he sent me this team, and he said he's aiming to take JSN at 105, and then he wants to secure the 101 and 102 next year, thinking of trading Deshaun to tank. This move doesn't seem like it's a tanking move. It's kind of the issue that I have here. Like, if I'm this team, I now want to move off of Mark Andrews, if that makes sense. Like, if you are in a tight end premium league, Mark Andrews is going to score you a lot of points, especially relative to what other teams have. And you already had Dalton Schultz there. So I don't mean to tear it apart too much, but I'm glad we're on the same page with saying that this team should be a rebuilder. And I think it has a good foundation. You have 2 elite quarterbacks. I wouldn't sell Deshaun. I would just keep Deshaun and Kyler in place because you have 2 elite quarterbacks that will probably only gain value between now and your championship window. I would strip down the rest. Push capital towards 2024. You do have 2 24 seconds, which is nice, but only 1 first in 2024. If you're truly trying to compete for Caleb Williams, like at that 101 spot, first, I wouldn't trade away Deshaun with the hopes of like drafting high enough to take a quarterback to replace him. I would just keep him for now and tank through the other positions, if that makes sense. Because that'd be a really good problem to have where you have Kyler, Deshaun, and then potentially Caleb Williams. You can either trade the pick or you can trade one of your elite quarterbacks. You have the flexibility down the line. I wouldn't sell a quarterback now with the plans of getting Caleb Williams. And that goes for everybody because I think I've seen that before where somebody will have 2 quarterbacks. They want to tank. They'll say, I'll sell this quarterback with the hopes of getting 101 next year for Caleb Williams. Elite quarterbacks are so tough to come by in Dynasty. I wouldn't sell one until I for certain have a third one coming down the line, if that makes sense. So I would keep Deshaun, I would keep Kyler, I would gut the rest of this roster, though. So everything that's scoring points, I want Mark Andrews gone, I want Amon-Ra St. Brown gone, only 1 2024 first. I would be aiming for on rebuilding teams. You want to have like 3+ 2024 first. You can even push capital out to 2025 as well. But you want like Dobbins gone, Algier gone, you want these guys gone, Dalton Schultz gone. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's young enough that you can make the case to keep him, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, his value's kind of spiking a little bit with the Jameson Williams stuff. I don't mind cashing out on him if you can get like multiple firsts in the future for him. Same thing with Mark Andrews. If anybody wants to pay up in a tight end premium for Mark Andrews, you can do the same thing. Added caveat though, of course we're in the offseason. Nobody's going to be dying to buy Dobbins, Algier, Ridley, Marquise Brown. So if you want to wait to sell these guys until the season starts, week 3, week 4, you can go ahead. But I do think to get the ball rolling, I think you could sell Andrews or Amon-Ra St. Brown early on here. Now, I did just say to wait, but if you're on the clock and you can find ways where maybe you can take like your 205 plus a Calvin Ridley and get like a 24 first next year, I'd be looking to do those kinds of deals because you don't want to use all of these picks because, again, those are going to be players. They're going to be scoring points for you in 2023. I'd want to use like maybe half of these picks, half is probably what I would be aiming for, maybe less, because you do want dart throws that could gain value, but you also don't want to stack like a deep team in a best ball league. So I think that's a move. I think if you're going to tank, you just want this team to look like more of a wasteland than it is right now is kind of the thing. So again, I know it sounds cliche or it just sounds like I'm a broken record, but again, if you're truly a tanking team, you want to have just like a boatload of future draft capital. So that should be your main goal right now is gut this team, keep the quarterbacks, gut everything else, figure out a way to maneuver on the clock while you're up there. I know you said 105 to get JSN. I wouldn't mind even like trading back from the 105 to net a future first. And like I would just be working the phone lines the entire rookie draft so you can bundle a second and a player, get a future first, see if somebody wants a Mark Andrews, so you can get multiple future firsts for him. Same thing with the Dalton Schultz, all of these guys. Work the clock when you're on the board or when you're on the clock. See what you can do. I also don't mind, too, if somebody takes JSN or somebody, jumps up for Jahmyr Gibbs or something. I don't mind at 105 just take one of the falling quarterbacks there and just add them to this room and just have an upside swing on a quarterback, a guy who could, boom in value between now and next season. Now, I think that's pretty much it for this team. Again, gut it. Future draft capital. You're going to get Kyler healthy. You're going to get Deshaun healthy. Or not even Deshaun healthy, but Deshaun kind of, with a year of football under his belt, and then the potential of adding Caleb Williams to that room, and you could sell one for a treasure trove of picks. So again, just make sure you are stripping things down, looking towards 2024, and just having a scary amount of future draft capital so you're truly not scoring too many points. Because a nightmare would be trading away Deshaun and then getting like the 103 or 104 next week because you didn't strip things down enough because, you have Mark Andrews scoring tight end premium points. So that would be a nightmare. So that is going to do it for us today. Just a nice little quick hitting video here. I think this is going to be one of our first videos under 20 minutes in a long, long time. I appreciate you guys coming out here watching this video. I just wanted to put something out a little quick here just in terms of, maybe you guys have some teams that are like this and are thinking, what should I be doing on the clock? What should I be doing for these upcoming rookie drafts? But I think it really, really matters to know where you're at with your teams. Know, are you a contender? Are you a rebuilder? What are your goals between now and the rookie draft? What are your goals for the 2023 season? I think it's really, really important to map out your teams and just have that on your mind so you're not just sort of aimlessly making trades. Now, if you want your team broken down in the next one of these videos I do, I'll probably start doing these a little bit more often now that I have some time. Of course, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. As well, I'll be updating my RS grades the entirety of the NFL draft, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll probably even do a couple write-ups. I have a channel on Discord called Ron Stat Cave where I'll sort of bring things up that stand out. If anything stands out, if anybody jumps from, like elite to legendary or gold to elite or elite to gold, anything like that, I'll probably write it up there. I'll make sure everything is updated as soon as possible. And the goal is to have RS grades officially in the books by Saturday night. And then rookie rankings out to you guys either Saturday night or like Sunday during the day. So we're going to be locked in here, getting ready for the draft. We're not going to be streaming for the draft just because I think that there's so many people out there that do draft streams and they do a really, really good job. I just don't want to hop on here like solo and do my thing and just kind of, filibuster for 3 hours. I'd rather just watch the draft kind of. I'll probably be hanging out in the Discord though. The Discord's free to join. I might be hanging out there in like the Dynasty channel and kind of talking with you guys. So excited for tonight. A little bit tired after almost like pretty much pulling an all-nighter last night, but we're out here. It's draft season. We're grinding. We're pumping out content. And as always, if you enjoy that, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see y'all in the next one.
I got the juice. I got the juice. Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home. Even my haters kinda glad I'm on. Rest in peace to my vagabond. Rapper, song, singer, suspended, subpoenaed for misdemeanors. Dreamer, held back asses, Loki still a deer, and I still shake a bull squat.